Alright, in this video I want to talk about shallow breathing versus deep breathing. Now, as you've been watching this video, notice how you've been breathing. Have you been breathing deeply, or have you been breathing a little shallow? In most Western people, in the Western culture, most of us are breathing shallowly. We're not breathing from the full capacity of our lungs. There's been a lot of surveys taken. Scientists have observed the way people breathe in Western culture, and it is known that it is a chronic issue as a society at large. And I think the reason why is just because we're not taught these techniques, we're not taught about these ideas in school, and we just miss out on the power of breathing. Whereas people in the East, they've known about these topics, they study these things much more in depth from an early age. And so we go through our Western civilization life, going through jobs and hustling and school, and we're just not breathing correctly, and it's putting us in a much more stressful state. So most Westerners breathe from a shallow place in the upper lung area, and that's just kind of the normal way of operating for the Westerner, or maybe for most non-Westerners too. But the ancient masters who tapped into the power of breathwork went to the origin of life to discover how to truly breathe properly. And you know what they studied? They studied infants and babies. When you look at a baby child that's just freshly born, look at how they breathe from their belly. And that is such a beautiful truth, that just by simply seeing that, a baby is so connected to its natural pure state. It's a uncorrupted, undeveloped, clean slate. And they're very connected to their body, to the way nature has designed them to be, how nature designed us to be. And they breathe from their belly moves up and moves down. And that, my friends, is the deep breathing. And that's the more correct breathing, how we should be breathing. Because breathing from your lower belly, it basically encourages your lungs to breathe more fully. And not only that, on an energetic level, it's bringing your energy to your lower belly area, which is the center of willpower, and just where a lot of oomph and power is stored. And so when we breathe from our lower belly, we're much more centered, we're much more aligned, we're much more grounded. Also, scientists have discovered that when we breathe shallowly from up here, it automatically puts us in that sympathetic state, like I explained before. And if you didn't see that, the sympathetic nervous system state is when we're in a much more stressful, much more anxiety-like place in our mind. But breathing from the lower belly brings us to the parasympathetic state, where we can be much more relaxed, much more calm, and much more centered, so that we can access our true potential in our consciousness. Now, the ancient masters really knew this fact, and they actively practiced the methods of bringing their awareness to their lower belly and consciously breathing like that every day, all the time. They would have a system of observation, and they noticed that average person breathes usually between, say, 10 to 20 breaths per minute, and there's breathing like that. But the masters of meditation and yoga and the Taoist Eastern mystical arts, they would try to breathe between 2 to 5 breaths per minute. And that's actively, consciously breathing from their lower belly, so that they have a much more calm, meditative state when they operate in life, through all of life, at all times. And then there's an even powerful breath. It's known as the Shiva Breath. And this breath apparently is how the god Shiva, the deity Shiva, would breathe. And that would be 1 breath per minute all the time. And just think of that. Just even practice that on your own. Try to breathe for 1 whole minute. Inhaling for 30 seconds, exhaling for 30 seconds. And just notice how that affects you. You will already notice that it calms you and that it brings you to a much more meditative state. Now imagine breathing like that all the time. Granted, it may not be realistic to breathe like that all the time, but I do believe it is realistic to breathe 2 to 5 breaths per minute on a constant basis from your lower belly. Now, we don't always have to be breathing that slow or from that area. There is a powerful moment, there is important moments when you need to breathe faster, like when you're running, when you're working out, when you're jogging. And breathing more powerfully, more faster, can increase your blood flow, increases your energy, and just gets you in a more active state when you need to be. And that's when you can choose that state. Now we're coming from a place of empowerment. We are consciously and mindfully choosing the state of consciousness we want to be in, and not being in a default way of life, breathing shallowly. And that is, my friends, is not a good thing. That's unawareness, that's ignorance. And that's what this whole course and all the masters before this course and other people who talked about this is trying to do. We're trying to educate the masses to help people breathe from their bellies and just breathe more consciously. And not breathe so shallowly. And when you breathe, if you notice when you're under stress, like super stress, when let's say something tragic has occurred or you're panicking, you'll notice people just go into this very erratic states, and they're just reacting in a panic mode and the breathing goes crazy. Or if someone's grieving, you breathe like that and you're just these crazy, unnatural, unbalanced flows of breathing is occurring, thus further putting you deeper into a chaotic emotional state. So immediately when I see that happening, I invite people, or I invite myself, to take full deep breath. And it brings me immediately, it calms me down, and it may take time, it may take several reps, but doing that continuously will allow you to start to control your breathing. Now, I know it may take a great deal of effort to try to breathe from your lower belly and breathing more deeply and slowly on a conscious matter day to day. It takes time. It's just like working out, working your muscles. You got to work your breathing consciousness, your breathing awareness muscles. And over time, you will notice, if you keep it up, you will start to breathe more naturally from your lower belly and from a slower, deeper rate. And I guarantee you just got to keep at it, keep practicing, and have a daily practice. Morning breathwork practice, nighttime breathwork practice, midday breathwork practice. And there you can start to tap into programming your muscles, programming your body, reprogramming your subconsciousness to breathe more deeply, more consciously, and more fully. And there you will notice your consciousness expands, your performance in all of your life tasks gets better, you start to access your potential of the power of your brain, ideas, creativity will flow through. Breathwork can enhance so much aspects of your life. I can go on and on about it. But what really counts is first-hand experience. So, now that you know about the difference between shallow breathing and deep breathing, let's continue and dive deep into the first step, which is belly breathing.